What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Chromecast. My name is Joe, joined here today by Gabriel.
Hello.
And Robbie.
Cheers.
Wasn't sure which way that was going to go.
Cheers. You're a cheers guy now? Cheers.
At the table.
So we were kind of thinking today would just be a kind of singular episode, singular focus.
All about
focus. We're gonna dive in. We're gonna take a deep dive.
As deep as we can.
Yeah.
I probably should look up, see if there's like any new crazy commits.
Yeah, you should.
It.
Yeah.
There's not that many actually, but anyway, go ahead.
So, Project X has
Nope, not what it's called. Just Chromebook X.
It's just called Why have I been calling it?
Project X is like a shaft in golf clubs.
I'm in golf mode,
It is.
and I am thinking of golf shafts, and that's Chromebook X. It is a project, probably.
Yeah,
it is a project within Google. So it is Project X as well.
Feels like that's what it's going to be. I'm going to call it that.
I've been calling it that.
Project Chromebook X.
Yeah, Callaway's, a lot of Callaways come with Project X shafts, but
they're not
it has
bad.
nothing to do with what we're going to talk about.
We've been in golf mode. So Chromebook X, I guess 9 to 5 first.
Yeah,
had some reporting on this. They've got some folks on the inside
for sure. Because like some of the stuff they found, I'm not going to take anything away from them. Like Kyle knows what he's doing, digging around the repository, so he may have found all this and pieced it all together. But most of it's very vague. Like the commit messages, a lot of them are a little vague unless you knew what you were looking for already. So I feel, and they did refer at the end of the article that. As far as the launch window and stuff, they did have a source. So I would say that source probably was also like, hey, you might want to be looking for this.
Yeah, it kind of pointed them in the right direction.
CBX basically is what you can search the repositories for. I'm trying to search and see if there's anything new today. Is it going to let me go? My browser's freaking out on me. There we go. Message CBX. Let's see. Let's just see if anything new. Maybe they're like, hey, we're out now. We can just go nuts with this. Because sometimes, you know, they'll try to hide some of these things, and then once an article gets out or whatever, I feel like a lot of things show up afterwards. What do we got today? Nothing really today. No, not one thing today. So there is a notification flag. What's this do? You're seeing it live, folks. This is live. See, this feature flag is controlled by the feature management. That's a flag. That's interesting. Could be an internal one, but it's an Ash feature flag, so could be something there too. We'll dig around and see what some of that stuff is later. But the idea behind Chromebook X, which I don't know that's what it's going to be called.
Also known as Project X.
Now they do say in quite a few of the commits that I've come across, like they will say, you know, we're doing such and such, and we'll get into some of the specifics here in a minute, but that they're going to mark the chassis with Chromebook X branding. And first when I saw that, I was like, they are going to call it Chromebook X. That's weird. Like, I mean, if that's what they want to do, go for it. But if that feels like a placeholder.
X could be a placeholder. I mean, I think it's cool, but I just don't know. It's
marketing.
It's not going to age well. It's I don't know.
But I think what they're saying
Pixel
is Chromebook
X
is whatever the branding's going to be.
Yeah.
Like it needs to have the Chromebook X branding. That's
trying to figure out why there would be a flag though. How would this relate to software in any way? This is weird.
Because there are certain things that Chromebook X Chromebooks will have access to that others won't.
Okay, that was my question.
There's custom software that will be attached to this stuff.
So very broad level for those who are listening who have no idea what we're talking about. What is this?
Most people probably don't. So let me see if I can see what this feature flag is real fast.
Should be under the description.
CC, baby.
Yeah.
Let's see. Flag is intended to be controlled by the feature management module. That doesn't tell me anything. Okay. So,
cool.
That's digging through the repositories for you. Sometimes you're like,
what is it? Oh, yeah.
This doesn't do anything. Chromebook X basically is this move, I guess, by Google, from what it looks like, from everything that's kind of come out, by Google to take the reins back a little bit of what it means to make a nice Chromebook. And I don't want to say premium Chromebook because everybody's in their head thinking Dragonfly, Pixelbook. It's not necessarily that. So Chromebook X, from what we can tell so far, looks to be something like an attention to detail from a build quality standpoint, an attention to detail to specific hardware things. So what they found already, and I haven't found anything extra, but I imagine there will be some like memory or storage amounts. There will probably be a level. So you're not going to get a Chromebook X Chromebook with 32 gigs of storage. Right. I don't know that for a fact, but I would think that that's the case. And so like RAM, display properties, and camera are the only ones for now that are like the things that we've found. Like you can see what they're saying, if it doesn't meet this thing, it's no good.
Wouldn't it be great if those things were the things that we have been harping on for the last 5 years?
Like, I have a feeling they might be.
I mean, or it's probably going to be somewhere close, because I feel like we kind of resonate what the people that are really into Chromebooks, we resonate what they expect. We've always complained that the HP 14C doesn't have a 300 nit screen, and it should. It's a $700 laptop. 8 gigs of RAM should be the minimum. 128. There's a couple solid Chromebooks on Best Buy right now that are on sale, and they're great prices, but they have 64 gigs of storage.
Right.
And it's like, it's not a bad Chromebook, but you're going to have to deal with storage management.
SD card, then figure out how to partition stuff under this one and that one instead of just having enough storage inside. Right. And storage is not that expensive, so it's kind of like, it's one of those things. I get it. You got to cut corners, but sometimes it's like, just make this thing nice. So stop futzing around with this. But the other part with so webcam was the other thing. So and I think it's 1080p. So I think it has to have a 1080p webcam as well. But the whole gist here is Google's involved in all Chromebooks that get made, all of them. So even the cheapest, dumbest looking Chromebook you've ever seen. Yeah. Google at least said, "Hey, look, there's some stuff you got to do to put Chromebook on the outside of it. You got to meet these requirements." And they clearly made those things low because they wanted to make sure education Chromebooks were in the mix. And so little things like, we've never gotten specifics, but the trackpad has to be able to do multi gestures. You got to have multiple fingers on it, but there's no attention to detail about whether that trackpad bounces around or if it's plastic or mylar or glass. Like they don't force that. They don't force the quality of the keyboard. They just make sure that all the keys are there. The keyboard layout's there. They don't enforce the quality of the display. I'm sure they probably enforce something as far as it has to at least get to like 200 nits maybe. I don't think I've ever seen a Chromebook less than 220 nits.
I think 220 is kind of like
so I feel like that might be they've created a baseline that is at this point not always indicative of a great hardware experience. So you can meet all those things, get Chromebook slapped on the outside, get Google's seal of approval, and get their engineers to help you work out the kinks to make sure your board works with the screen and blah blah blah. You can get all that stuff, and Google's involved in all that stuff to that extent. And then it's a Chromebook. It's just a Chromebook. And I think that's the key here. So manufacturers, it's not like you won't be able to make just a Chromebook anymore. So if some smaller manufacturer wants to go build a Chromebook that they're going to market towards a certain demographic, whether it be education or whatever, if they want to just go do their own thing, they can still get their Chromebook label. They can still build their device. And business as usual.
Right, which happens if you go to like cross.tech and look, there are model names in there that I've never heard of. I remember when the Promethean Chromebox came out. It's specific to like the UK and Germany and places like that, and that's Google's made this standard to where if a company wants to get together with one of these white label like Quanta or one of these or Compal, they can put whatever brand they want on there.
One of our first reviews that got sent to us was a Viglin.
Yeah, the old Viglin.
I don't even know if they're around anymore.
Yeah, probably not.
They white labeled a device that's kind of just like, hey, here's a Chromebook that's already gotten the seal of approval. Right. All you got to do is put your brand on the outside.
And it's kind of CTL did that. They were a kind of a PC maker for a long time, but then they got ahead of the curve with Chrome. Now they make other stuff too, but they are a ChromeOS manufacturing company. Because
do they make any unique ones yet? Or are they still probably just doing white labels?
No, I'm pretty sure those are all just standard white labels.
You build up a business, you build up a book of business that's trusts your brand, and you can go back and
you
sell
offer
to it.
service with it and stuff because they do, white label or white glove and RMAs and all that stuff. So if you combine it with the Google services and stuff, you can probably make a pretty good business out of it.
Do all right. And then eventually, if you want to deal with, the research development to build your own thing, then you can go do that. And so, there's all these different companies, and those companies can continue to do what they're doing. Like, this doesn't change now everybody's going to have to go through more hoops and more hurdles. It's not the case. It's actually pretty brilliant. Like Google does a lot of stuff, and we kind of make fun of certain moves that Google does, and it's like, what were you thinking? With this one, the more I've sat and chewed on this, and thought about it, like, this is brilliant.
Yeah,
like this is brilliant. And so, what this basically is going to give them is this ability to kind of rein in control of the ChromeOS market. And so, instead of just going, well, yeah, we did set some baselines, but we can't, if you are complaining about 250-inch screens, we can't wrench HP and force them to do that. Like, we can't force them to put non-plastic or trashy key caps on. We can't force them to use a better surface for the trackpad. We can't force them to quality assure that the trackpad's not double clicking. We can't do any of those things. So what can we do? Like, they're not quite as hamstrung as they are in the Android market. In Android, they can't do anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and they got themselves into that situation when they bought Android and became the main, whatever you call them, with, Android open source project is still a thing, and people can take it and do what they want. And Google's tried to kind of wrestle back control with Pixel, but until they gain more market share, Samsung controls Android in a lot of ways right now. And so this is different. This is still like they still have that baseline, and now Chromebook X, or whatever it will be called, becomes this other layer of like, cool, we are going to market and make it very clear to consumers that these Chromebooks, they don't have to be expensive Chromebooks, but these Chromebooks meet the criteria that Google gives a thumbs up. And here's why that becomes important. With Google, if you think about the Chromebooks that Google has made and or partnered with, you get the original Chromebook Pixel, the follow-up to it, the 2015, 15, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Chromebook, probably 15. Chromebook Pixel, the Pixel Book, the Pixel Slate. And it, for all the failings of the Pixel Slate, it was still a really nice piece of hardware.
Yeah.
The software failed it pretty hard. The original HP Chromebook 11, and then now the HP Dragonfly Pro. Am I missing any other ones?
There is the old school Samsung to a little bit of a degree. From a marketing standpoint,
yeah, they worked with them a little bit. So the Samsung Pro and Plus Chromebooks, which were pretty unique.
It kind of felt like Lenovo worked with them really close on the Duet, but that's also not a premium.
I think that's true. I think that's true. The Duet series, they got some. So there have been a handful of Chromebooks, and they always, I got some of my.
Your finger.
Yeah. You're rubbing it. You're rubbing it pretty aggressively.
I see the problem.
I didn't realize what I was doing.
That's my son. He'll sit there and do this for like 10 minutes. He's like, my eye hurts. I have no idea why. Okay.
You hit yourself. And so, Google's done this a little bit through time. And again, unless a manufacturer probably comes to them and says, look, we help us do this.
Yeah.
But
Dragonfly Pros.
You see the difference when they do. Mm-hmm. For, all of Google's failings in different hardware categories and all that stuff. At the end of the day, when it comes down to it, when Google goes, hey, we're going to build something, they usually do it really, really well.
I'm not saying it's perfect. Intentional and very thoughtful.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I look over Joe's shoulder, and there's a picture of the original Pixel book that's still, we handled one not too long ago and picked it up, and I'm still like, and I'm just like, it's a marvelous piece of hardware. Like, there's something just so special about it. And same thing with the Pixelbook Go. Like, these are devices that are intentionally good from a hardware standpoint. It doesn't mean they had the best hardware or the fastest processors, even the best screens or any of that stuff. It's just they realized if they put all these pieces together in the right order, they can create a great experience. And so, the Dragonfly Pro is a little expensive, but we've talked about that at length. That's the same thing that happened with that. Like, and we heard at the reviewer workshop, that's exactly what happened. Like, HP said, we want to do this, and they called the phone, and they called, and they said, hey, we want to do this, and they worked it out over the course of a couple of years. It wasn't HP just building a Chromebook and Google going, if you put this much RAM and this much hard drive space.
Right. It makes such a difference, because you were talking about the Oh, this is public knowledge, so I can say it's the spin that's coming. It has an i7, so it's listed on their website. It says up to i7. It's going to be what, around $1,000?
Yeah.
From a power perspective, it's going to be worth it. It's probably going to have good build quality because the spins always do. But if I had $1,000 and I had my choice, I would buy the Dragonfly.
Yeah,
all day long.
Until I pick it up and try it, maybe not, but I know good and well that the Dragonfly's got that extra attention to detail,
the
not
aesthetic,
just
the fit and finish.
Hey, we've crammed more stuff in here.
Yep.
It's not. Yeah, the specs are nice, but there's something else about the way that it feels to use it. I hadn't messed with the Dragonfly since the review. Joe's been hogging it, you know.
I don't have it right now. I don't even know where it is.
I have it.
Oh, I was going to say, I thought it was
on your desk.
You gave it back to me, and it's not left my backpack. So
that was my fault. I was charging it, and I set it on Robbie's desk. Robbie's like, "Oh, I claimed this in the name of Spain."
Yeah. So it's back in my backpack. So
back to my Pixelbook Go. I love it.
I had a little project, a home project to do the other night, and sat down and worked on it for the first time in months, and was very quickly reminded. Like, you just know. You know when you pick up a device that's been carefully crafted. Like, you feel it at every moment. I was like, I forgot how good this was.
It's like, what was your first MacBook? You bought in college, right? Or
yeah, 2011. No, I bought it before I went to college. So 2009, whatever. Big fat MacBook. So
that's what
Pro.
I've got I had an old 2010. There's been a 2012 floating around here. You know, we've all handled MacBooks through the years. Probably have had my hands on most of them at some point in time. Never once have I picked one up and thought, man, this is not not a good piece of hardware. I mean, they've had their misses with like the keyboard issues and stuff, but from a hardware perspective, fit and finish, you've never picked up a Mac and thought, eh. Yeah, and that
like the first time you probably picked up a MacBook Air for the first time.
Yeah, you're like, what in the world?
They make this so thin. It probably looks chunky now.
It was like picking up the Gram when we went to CES. It's like, oh my gosh, you know.
It's just there's a difference. There's an attention to detail that goes way beyond a spec sheet. And so now consider this. You know, some of Google's devices, they've worked with manufacturers that kind of have that it factor, that like, oh, this is nice to pick up. You know, I would say like Lenovo's 2 tablets or 3 tablets now fit in that if you probably get rid of the keyboard portion. Like the keyboard portions are fine, but that's clearly a part where they're like, we got to cut some costs if we're going to sell these things. But when you pick up the tablet by itself, it's like, holy crap! Like for a couple $100, like this is wild that this is this good. But those aren't expensive devices. The HP 11 that Google partnered with was not inexpensive. It was like $250, $300. It's not an expensive device. The original Samsung Chromebook Plus, for what it was not that wide. I think it was $450 or something like that. It was not wildly expensive. And so this is not a play at high-end hardware.
Right. And
I've seen a couple people pick it up and try to make that claim. It's definitely not the case, and I feel like 9to5 made that case really clear in the get-go. They found another commit that referenced at least the handful of chips that will be included in this. It's the last 2 AMD, so the current and the one that came right before that. So not 5,000. So the 6 or
no, you got 7 and 5. Is that right?
Yeah. What the one other one they put in there? I think we've been tracking the 6,000, the Ryzen 6,000 chips that are legit 6,000s. These 7,000 chips are kind of like old. So
rebrand it. Yeah,
it's weird. Yeah. It's a little bit of a bait and switch thing, but whatever. I'm actually reviewing a device right now with one of those in it. I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah. So not too worried about that. But there's multiple AMD devices, 12th gen Intel. It would only make sense that 13th gen would be in there. They're basically the same thing. But also the 12th gen Alder Lake N, which are entry-level chips. Those are small cores. And again, if you go back and check out our, I'll try to remember to link that in the description, the Lenovo Flex 3i. It had an Intel, the entry-level, lowest end N100 chip. Really good. We've got the Slim 3 on the way as well, which has been here today.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. Maybe he took the day off. Our FedEx guy. He came by.
Regular guy. He was here early yesterday.
Right before I got here. Yesterday's painful. But that device is coming in too. I'll come back to that one in a minute. Yeah. There's a couple things about it that are interesting. But I want to say it's an N100 or an N200.
Yeah, it's the one at Best Buy.
No, I'm sorry. The Slim.
That's a MediaTek.
The Slim's that MediaTek.
Yeah.
So that's not on the list. But I don't think this list is comprehensive at this point.
Yeah.
They can choose whatever.
Right, because again, it's
want.
not about a certain benchmark score. It's about a culmination of things. Which, to me, when I first saw this, I initially thought, well, this is them trying to move because Best Buy or Google came out with the whole Plus and Premium thing a while back.
Yeah, which is nixed. Have you seen?
Right,
that?
they've nixed it, and it's confusing because you had devices that we would consider premium kind of in the Plus, and then vice versa because this one's got all this, but the screen's kind of, I wouldn't call this premium, and then it makes me wonder if Google's just kind of trying to do away with that and say, look, here's your Chromebook X devices, because like that N200, and then there is an i3 in the N series. It's a really weird chip, but you're talking about low-level processors that will compete with core processors from 2 years ago, but are really, really budget-friendly.
And great on battery.
Yeah, and we've talked about this a million times. Companies can take and cut fewer corners on their device with one of these N chips and give you something that's, I think about that Samsung that Derek has. It's a Samsung Windows. It's the smaller one. I think he paid $500 for it because it was on sale. It's got just a basic Core i3 or whatever, but man, you pick that, it's got real MacBook Air vibes.
Right.
It's
just
super
well-made.
sleek, super well made, and I think that this is what we'll see from this.
Yeah. So I think that's the crux here. That's what they're going after. So there are going to be hardware requirements for this because some hardware is very much akin to your experience. So you're going to run into problems with Chromebooks that have 32 gigs of storage.
Right.
You're just inherently going to run into stuff where it's like, well, I guess I can't save any more pictures or I can't download any more stuff because I've got, less storage on this than some big computers have RAM. It's probably time to move on. And so that number,
unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, so that number, those two match up. But to say a 350 nit screen or 400 nit screen, say that, it's going to provide you with a substantially better experience than a 300 nit screen. It's a pretty subjective thing to say. So it's like, I don't know about that. But I can tell you that a 720p webcam versus a 1080p webcam makes a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
Every time. It always makes a big difference. You notice it. I can tell you that, making sure that you have 8 gigs of RAM versus 4. And we used to have this whole thing. Chromebooks shipped with 2 gigs of RAM. Entry-level Chromebooks came with 2 gigs of RAM.
Yep.
And I remember it came to a point where we were just like, enough is enough. You got to stop doing this. I'm not saying we're there with 4 gigs of RAM, but unless it's dirt cheap, it needs to have 8 gigs of RAM.
Yeah.
Go price RAM real fast.
Yeah.
And tell me they can't upgrade.
Not very expensive.
A little tablet that's just made to kick around and it's $200, absolutely. But
but once you get over $250, put 8 gigs of RAM
like
on it.
HP has a N200 8 gig 15-inch at Best Buy. It's on sale right now, I think $200 off. And I'm like, that N200 with 8 gigs of RAM, I don't care if the rest of the Chromebook is crap. That thing's going to chew through everything that you want to do.
And, that was 9 to 5's take on this. And I didn't quite go down this path with my post, but their take was, most people go in and with Chromebooks now, when you start looking at Intel and MediaTek and Snapdragon and all these processors, people don't even have a baseline. They don't even know what they're looking at, what they're talking about. And so like this now can wrangle that in to say, well, if you just want a good experience, buy the one with that, whatever this branding is going to be, and you're going to get a good experience. And I think that's part of it. But I don't think it's just from a specs, like, hey, people are in the dark about specs. I think people are also, we're in the dark about it. Like we get stuff in and you hope, like you just hope that it's going to come together and make a nice piece of hardware, and sometimes it just doesn't.
Yeah, I think it's just more about setting a level of expectation of what you're going to get if you buy a Chromebook X, because like if I didn't know anything about Chromebooks, but I've used Windows laptops my whole life and I've spent lots of money on Windows laptops, and I went to Best Buy and I saw, this HP X360 is listed as a premium Chromebook. It's on sale. I'm going to buy it.
Should be great.
I'm going to get home and I'll be like, this screen, it's not a bad screen. The colors are great, but you've been rocking a 400 nit Windows laptop for 8 years. You're gonna be like, I paid $700 for this.
Why is the bottom of flimsy?
Yeah, we the bottom talk about that.
The bottom of that Chromebook's flimsy, and it's little stuff like that it's like, oh well, they cut that corner, and that's fine. You can do that if you just want to make a regular Chromebook. Right. But I think this will go beyond just clearing up spec things for people, because it's impossible to know. Like the Asus CX9 is a perfect example of this. Like I remember us looking at that, seeing it introduced, and we're like, "This is it. This is the unicorn. It's got all the stuff."
That was going to be the Chromebook, the first Chromebook I bought in a while, and then we got the review unit in, and it was like,
maybe not.
It wasn't. It's not like it was bad.
No,
but there were just
had all the pieces.
It just didn't come together, and so there's no way for consumers to know that. But from what we can tell, anytime Google really invests into a Chromebook from a partner standpoint or from their own, they always deliver something that most people are like, yeah, this is nice.
Yeah,
this is fun to use. I can't think of any of those Chromebooks that I listed that I didn't enjoy using. You know, even the Samsung Chromebook Plus, it was way too slow with its trashy rock chip. You know, like everything else about it was awesome. And we knew the rock chip processor was going to be awful. Like it was a dumb choice.
OP1.
OP.
Yeah.
The OP.
Oh, crap.
That website doesn't exist anymore, by the way.
They just acted like it didn't happen, which
like,
it should have. It was terrible.
Oh, what? No.
But
let's forget about this.
The Pro, other than the fact that it was Skylake, again, it was a processor issue. That Skylake's first iteration was terrible and overheated and all this kind of stuff. And so the processors in both were problematic, but those were fun to use. Like, I remember like loving those Chromebooks, and they were so thin and all that kind of stuff. So like you look at all these Chromebooks that Google clearly had a hand in helping with, they've all been great experiences. The Pixelbook Go was never top of the line anything.
Nope.
Well, speakers. But other than that, I mean, it did not have the best screen. It did not have the best processor. It did not have the most RAM or the most storage. None of those things, or the best battery life. It didn't have any of those superlatives, and yet it was still that Chromebook that, I mean, Joe still goes back to it, you know, and like, and the closest thing now is the Dragonfly Pro. I think it's like the Pixelbook Go is also premium, you know, like internally, and so that's why I think it's not just about clearing up specs for consumers. Like, oh, I understand now that this processor is good, or I don't have to think about processor. So maybe that's I think that's part of it. I think the other part is Google being able to say, okay, if you, manufacturer, want to be in this little group, you've got to abide by a new set of rules. So old set of rules still apply to get the Chromebook sticker. You want the better Chromebook sticker, now you need this new set of rules. You don't have to abide by them. That's okay if you don't want to, but you won't get this sticker that hopefully in 6 months, 8 months, 9 months from now, as people start seeing it, they put marketing dollars behind it. It becomes a thing, and people understand. If I go to Best Buy and there's 50 Chromebooks sitting, there's not usually, but 20 Chromebooks sitting on the shelf, but there's 5 of them that are this new brand, this Chromebook X, this whatever it's called. I can go pick one of those, and know that all of them are going to be good. And so now it's like, do I want the bigger one, the smaller one? Do I want the detachable
Makes it
one,
a lot easier,
and it's just much less in the way. And as many manufacturers want to get in on this, they can. All they got to do is meet the requirements that Google set. And I guarantee you, it's not just going to be, well, we put 8 gigs RAM and 120 gigs of storage.
No.
They're going to be like, nah, you got to make sure that those tolerances are good. You
Keyframes got to be right.
Right. Does it bend when you pick it up? What's it feel like? And so Google can all of a sudden rein back a little bit of that control over the market. And instead of having to go make a Pixelbook to do it, they can now use their manufacturers and basically say, hey, if you want this. And my guess is they'll have a handful from the get-go. Whenever they launch this, they'll have some.
Like they did with the gaming ones.
Right, to create something around this, you know, to create some hype around it and some sort of idea around it. That way they can market it.
Yeah.
And then more manufacturers will be like, you know, we made that Chromebook X. We sold a bunch of those. We can't sell these other ones, so I guess we'll make sure and make these. And maybe it goes away after a while. Maybe this just becomes the new normal.
Yeah.
But for right now, I think it's a way for them to re-enter the market, because that's where we miss them. We miss Google showing up and making thoughtful, you know, intentional Chromebooks. And while we were so excited about the HP, you know, coming into the market, it was expensive, or is expensive. But you know, this is a way for them to kind of get back into that and leverage some of the partnerships that they have in this really kind of unique way. So I think it's going to overall be just a fantastic thing, as long as they market it. They got to make sure people know about what's going on.
Yeah. Do you all think, though, that you said that they're creating these guidelines, they're going to steer manufacturers in the right direction, but do you think there's maybe a chance that they might want to create that lighthouse device to say, like, look, here's what this looks like.
This is usually when they would do it,
right,
when something like this is happening, but
But I mean, we have.
I don't.
There isn't anything that we
no
know as of right now.
Yeah, and I thought about writing this post, and I've been back and forth on it. There's part of me that's like, yeah, this would be a cool moment for them to launch the first Chromebook X. I hate calling it that because I don't think that's what it's going to be called, but
they really hope not.
I hope it is.
And if so,
is it gonna be? It can't be Chromebook Pixel because they've already done Chromebook Pixel, and also people would maybe be confused by that because it's the phones and I don't know, but they've done Pixel tablet.
I don't know what they would call it, but whatever it ends up being called, if Google did it and kind of showed it, that would be one thing. But then also, I think they could probably point to other devices that they've done this with already. And then does a new Pixelbook, for instance. So the new Pixelbook is the first Chromebook X, the first Chromebook that meets these criteria. Does that undo a little bit of this?
Right.
Because the whole point of this is to get the manufacturing partners on board to buy into this idea that we can be a part of this group and do this thing, and we can do it, and Asus can do it, and HP can do it, and Acer can get in, and we can all do this. Is it undo that a little bit if Google steps in and goes, here, we'll do it first? Yeah, I don't know. I'm back and forth with it.
Because it's always felt kind of weird because like with the Pixel phones, obviously Google's making a move to get into the market.
They're competing.
They are competing, or they are trying to compete. I mean, they're in a position where if things go really well, 10 years from now, it could be Google, Samsung, because there's still this mindset of, it's a good, my daughter said something about that, but Pixels, aren't they like, they're expensive for what you get, aren't they? I'm like, do you listen to anything that I say?
What are you talking about?
I sent her to her room without dinner. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking. It was a joke. But even with the early Pixels, it was always that development device of setting that bar. But then there's always this need to, like with the Pixelbook seemed like it sold well. Did they make a lot of money off the Pixelbooks?
Probably
no.
not.
Did they sell a ton of them in relation to other companies? No way.
No.
But you want it to. You're like, I want everyone to buy a Pixelbook. So now on the backside of it, you see Google partnering with like HP to make the Dragonfly Pro, and you're like, I think they're better served to push this initiative and to sell this narrative by just working directly with your major
right.
4, major 5. You got Lenovo, because I love Lenovo. Lenovo's crushing it in the Chromebook market, but Lenovo has not had that halo device. The Yoga C630 was supposed to be it, but it was a swing and a miss. I mean, they were big monster.
They were kind of on their way to getting there.
Yeah, but I mean, Lenovo makes some dope laptops, Legions and stuff like that. They each
and
need
their
to
Yoga. Their high-end Yoga are really, really nice.
We need Peabody is what we need. We need the old Yoga. Yeah, but each one of these manufacturers needs to work directly with the team, and they need to have their... It doesn't need to be their most premium device. It needs to be their poster child for Chromebook X. Is what it needs to be.
Yeah, they do need to do that. And if that's not going to happen, then maybe at that point that's where Google could step in and show what they're trying to accomplish.
Right.
Like here's another Pixelbook Go or something like that. Like we're not trying to make the most elite high-end Chromebook. We're trying to make a mid-range Chromebook because I think that's what most of these will be. I really don't think the aim is going to be throw everything at it and it's going to be $1,000 Chromebook. I don't think that's. I'm not saying there won't be $1,000 Chromebook X's, but
but it's also there's also going to be $1,200 Chromebooks that don't meet the criteria because we've seen $1,000 Chromebooks that had a 720 webcam on them.
Yeah,
right.
So I mean, it happens, and so it's super interesting from that standpoint. And that kind of brings me back to Lenovo with this Slim. 3. Is it just 3?
It's
just Slim 3. The Slim 3. It went on more sale, right?
It dropped another $20.
So $169. $169 for a Chromebook that just launched like a month ago.
Yeah.
But it's got a lot of the mojo that the Flex 3i that we just reviewed not long ago has. It's an all plastic chassis. It is. But in the review guide. And this thing's out, so there's no embargo here or anything. But in the reviewer guide, there's a whole paragraph where they point out in there, because by the way, this Chromebook X thing can be retrofitted onto existing Chromebooks.
Nice.
So there will be some Chromebooks. There was a commit talking about that, like in the firmware. So we haven't talked about software yet. in the firmware that you'll be able to tell it, hey, this is a Chromebook X. It gets Chromebook X features. It's going to be branded that way. And so maybe they'll have a sticker they send out to their
Before
to
we get to
Lenovo,
let's talk about that real quick. Do we have any idea what those features will be? Because this it seems like a weird move, because you remember people were freaking out about the Samsung Pro and everything. It's like, it's going to have Samsung bloatware on it, which manufacturers can pre-install stuff, like HP has their HP Connect drop, and then on the Dragonfly you have the
assistant thing,
like the one for customer service. You can delete those though. You don't have to. So
no, this won't be that. It's features. So far that we've seen, it's not apps. It's features. So and I think so far the only ones they found are ones related to like video calling. So with video calls, blurring backgrounds on device. So it's actually doing it from a hardware perspective. What was the noise canceling? So like noise, voice isolation. I might have to pull the article up and see, but I'm almost positive all the software things were related to like video calls for right now. I don't think that will necessarily be the case moving forward. 16 virtual desks. Remember that thing that we've tracked for a while?
Really?
It looks like they're going to hold that for Chromebook X. So certain features, higher end features, I think they will hold for Chromebook X, and it's behind this management system that knows that these particular SKUs are the right Chromebook, and it's deep down, so that like you're not gonna be able to go find a feature flag and turn them all.
It's just like you couldn't turn Steam on devices that didn't have the right processor.
There was one other call related thing. I just can't remember what the heck it was.
So you have noise canceling, background blur.
There was one other thing. I can look it up. What were you saying?
And I guess their thought here is that these devices have the hardware to support these.
Some of that's
additional.
Gonna be true. I have to say it with a rolling of the eyes.
Right.
I guess so.
Yeah, it's a little bit
and most of this stuff is video
thing.
calling, and so they can say, hey, in order to pull this off and make it look good, it's got to be 1080p.
Got to have a 1080. Yep.
So, part of that also, the AV1 codec just rolled out a couple of releases ago, so this was probably something that they worked in tangent with that. Like, all right, we have this codec at our beck and call now. Let's leverage that for these devices that are a little bit more premium or whatever you want to call it. So,
see, I'm trying to get to the software part of this real quick.
He's still reading through that 7 Iron article.
Yeah. Don't get him started.
Here we go. Sorry, I thought I had it. This is great.
This is riveting.
This is what people love.
How many cameras do you need, bro?
All of them.
Take on it. Yeah, piece of place.
For anybody who watched the Pixel tablet video, you might have noticed Robbie had a different phone in his hands.
One of our patrons caught it. I was like, good eye. Nice.
Now he's on a different phone.
Yeah, which will be that'll be a whole other podcast.
That's
here in
a
about
whole
a week.
other show, folks.
No comment. I will say
we're gonna record it right after this.
Let me put it this way, just in case anyone's listening, you're like, oh no. If you caught what phone it was, and the fact that I don't have this phone has nothing to do bad with the phone.
No, it's not. He just dropped it and shattered it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking. He did not.
I can't find. Oh, here we go. Finally, golly. If I'd put my articles in better order here. Live captions. That's what it is. It's portrait blur effects and live caption during your phone call. Like
that was already a thing. Huh.
And it's live captions in video calls, but I think it's on the hardware. It's not So like you would be able to do it on other.
So these are kind of like pixely, tensory, machine learning kind of things.
The feel. Yeah. So the feel of it is stuff where Android's still Android. This is a Samsung phone, and so it's going to have its own little features or whatever. It's got it, but there are certain Pixel features I don't have when I have my SIM in this phone. Period. I just don't get them, and that's just part of not using a Pixel, and part that makes me sometimes go, do I want to go back to that? And the processor's faster on this, and there's some things I can do on this I can't do on my Pixel so you go back and forth. And so I don't think the software things are going to be like huge sweeping app updates or anything like that, like or apps that are pre-installed, or I don't know that that's going to be any of it. It's going to be more like these little niceties, these little creature comfort features, I think, that come along for the ride that you won't get unless you got the Chromebook X branding, that they'll be able to flip on and off kind of at will. So yeah, that's kind of the software end of it. And so, the other thing is that they're going to get a custom boot screen.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
There will be branding on. So when it boots
it's going to be
up,
a big giant X.
Yeah. It's just me. They already recorded me on green screen.
Actually
it's just me coming up underneath the ChromeOS.
Wow.
We're going to need to edit that into a video somehow.
Yeah. I want some of the little tassels like Ultimate Warrior.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I want that.
Just wow.
Some bangles. Is that a bangle?
Yeah,
or
sure.
Is that, no, bangles. I don't know. It's like dangly things.
Wow. Yeah.
So are we taking a break for an ad?
No. I mean,
no, we're 41 minutes.
I've had too much liquid. I got to pee.
All right, we'll take a quick break.
Okay.
We'll be right back. Alrighty, welcome back, everyone. I just pick a random time in conversation to hop us back in.
Wait for the, what was it, 7-minute lull?
Yeah, 7-minute lull. It's a real
7
thing. Think about
minutes?
it. Yeah, if you're in a group having conversation, there will be...
Is it 7 minute?
That's what Kenny originally said, but I think it's every 7 minutes there's a lull. I don't know. I don't remember.
I think it was 7 minutes.
I think it was 7 minutes.
Really?
But
right.
Yeah, ever since that conversation, I'm like, I think he's right.
Yeah,
like just in general conversation.
Like in a group conversation, you'll
have a little...
There'll be that, or if it's 3 or 4 people,
right.
There'll be a section where it just...
And that's when I say, and welcome back, everyone.
Yeah.
It's funny because we have no problem talking for like 40 minutes nonstop. We
Did you ever feel a little tired doing this podcast though? Like sometimes I think like maintaining the conversation, not letting that happen, I feel like takes effort.
Yeah.
You know,
we should just let it happen. People. Alrighty, let's feel all uncomfortable. Let's talk a little more about Project
X.
Chromebook X.
Stiff shaft, regular.
So I derailed you. We were going to the Lenovo.
Yeah, I figured that's kind of where we can kind of finish up. So the Slim has this whole paragraph about its tolerances, and it talks about the finish of it,
which is insane.
In a cheap Chromebook, you never hear that.
Well, not just that. I mean, other than like Google went into this whole spiel about the European engineering of the Pixelbook and all that stuff, but from a marketing perspective, you don't see that on any Chromebook, let alone no offense, a cheap Chromebook. Yeah. It's $319.
Yeah, it's been on sale multiple times already.
Yeah. Does it have all the specs?
Yeah.
So, I mean, as long as it's built the way...
The MediaTek is the only thing that for right now throws it off.
But you were thinking that the list isn't comprehensive probably right now.
No, there's no way. There's no way that some of those MediaTek
it's capable of doing all of those things that we already know.
Yeah, so it comes for a cheap Chromebook, it comes equipped with a 1080p webcam. It's got a 300 nit screen, again, on a cheap Chromebook.
HP.
And they're talking about the fit and finish of a plastic chassis. I mean, it's
the RAM's
plastic.
the only thing that's weird. It does have 8 gigs or 4 gigs of RAM.
Oh, it is 4?
Yeah.
Okay. That could be. I don't know. It just had me thinking, like, when I saw those specs, I was like, huh, that's odd. Like, it feels strange that they would put those kind of specs on a Chromebook that's clearly meant to be super budget friendly. And so, that I guess brings up then too, like, which Chromebooks, because there will be some Chromebooks that meet at least the hardware criteria moving forward. We just talked about the new Spin 714.
Right.
The Spin 714 that came before that would too, because it was 12th gen.
Yeah. Well. Oh, yeah.
So this is the 12th and 13th gen, so they both meet it. I'm pretty sure they have 1080p webcams. They have plenty of internal stuff going on. And so it's going to be interesting to see if Google does put some sort of like limitation on the build quality, like the attention to detail. Like, to me, I feel like the Spin 714 is a great example of a really well thought out and a crafted device. Like it's
always well built. It's not. It's never it's not the Dragonfly.
No,
but it's never. The last 3 models, or maybe 4 models, or since they debuted
the 713
713. It's never been like, oh, it's good, but it's always been a solid overall device.
Yeah, I mean, we've got, I think the 513's in there, which is kind of a spin-off of the 713. It's got the high-end Companion.
Spin-off, sorry.
But every time I open it, it's a one-finger lift. It's super thin and light. Like, it's kind of a delightful device to pick up and use. And so I think that's what they're going for. Like, I don't think Chromebook X is going to usher in some new thing where $300 Chromebooks feel like an HP Dragonfly Pro. Like, I just don't. What I do think it's going to do is help consumers find the ones that are like the Flex 3i without having to always sort through. Because the truth is, we have so much content out there now too, And fortunately, used to, you could go and look at our stuff and look through our videos probably pretty quickly and go, okay, here's the ones I like. I can't task anybody with that now.
Right.
Like, I can't tell anybody if they're like, I don't know anything about Chromebooks. I'm going to go buy a Chromebook.
Go
Which
check our
Chromebook do I want to go
YouTube channel.
buy? Yeah, just go read the site. Like, there's 8,000 posts on our website. There's, 400 videos or something like that. Like, it's a massive library of content, and that's what we do. That's what we're here for. But it's almost impossible to make that succinct, and it's probably the same thing that Google's dealt with too. Going like, we don't even know how to put this together to tell people, here's a thing to go look at, and if you answer this question, because that doesn't even answer it either. Like, I need something from the manufacturer to say,
clear,
this one good,
simple,
this one not, like, kind of thing. And no manufacturer is going to come out and do that for you.
Right.
Like,
that's
Lenovo's
the thing,
not going to be like, hey, this one's cheap, but it's a piece of crap.
Because Google did that with their Chromebook landing page. They had the find yours, and it kind of tried to walk you through, but you're going to end up landing on a Chromebook that you very well might hate, even though it might have what you want.
Right, because specs just don't answer it just doesn't get you there.
Yeah, because right now, with all the crazy discounts that are going, I can point you at 2 Chromebooks that are about the same price, like, let's say $200. And one of them I would tell anyone to go use, and the other one I wouldn't want my 6-year-old to use.
Yeah, I mean, it's and that's the problem.
Right.
And somebody approaching that knows nothing about any of this stuff and doesn't understand processors and doesn't understand that, over the last few iterations, this line of Asus Chromebooks has been blah blah blah. Like, they have none of those contexts, and they're just walking in blind to this. Like, good luck. Like, it's gotten to the point where now I'm looking at it and going, God, I remember the day when I figured out, we always had ESL in elementary school. And I remember being like, oh, they're learning English. English isn't too bad. And I remember growing up and finally realizing, like, our language is horrible. What a stupid language we have. Like, it's dumb on so many fundamental levels. It is terrible language. And because we're America and we speak it and we, enforce our stuff on other people, a lot of the world speaks English. And they shouldn't. It's a dumb language. It is a terrible, terrible language. And I remember,
Tell us how you really feel.
I remember realizing that, like, and going, "Oh my God, these like some of these students that were my friends, that natively spoke other languages, because you're a kid, dumb, ignorant kid. You don't realize, like, everyone around me speaks English, so of course it's easy. Yeah. And you realize how difficult of a task that is, and what an ask that is for, especially as you get older, to come in and try to learn English just so you can get a job or so you can.
Yeah, and if you don't understand this, have children and then try to explain to them when they're learning English.
Oh God!
Because they're like, "Well, Dad, why?" Well, that's because
we don't know.
Our response at home is because English.
Yeah,
that's
English
why.
English is a dumpster.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a terrible, terrible language, and so, like, that realization, like, I've had that recently with Chromebooks, like the number of Chromebooks that are out there. Like, when you finally get it, like, there's this massive amount of people walking in blind to all this, and asking them to just now understand all of these things that we've talked about over the years is just unrealistic, and it's why we do what we do. Like, when a Chromebook comes out, why we say this is good and this is bad. And I'm trying to tell you this in the most, like, we've gotten away from blurting out specs on everything. We've gotten away from, this idea that it's just about, telling you everything that's in the Chromebook. Who cares? Who cares what's in the Chromebook? If it feels like crap to use and it's not fun to use and it's annoying, it doesn't matter. It's the English language. Like, it's junk, and it doesn't matter that it has whatever it has in it. If it's not great to use, it's no good. And so, it's the same thing. People come into this thing not understanding, not knowing what they're walking into. They just went to Best Buy and thought they're going to buy a Chromebook.
Right.
And I think Google's finally seeing that and realizing, like, if we want, like, general consumers to buy these things, because you got kids over here that they go, here's your Chromebook, kid, open it and use it. Kid goes, oh, okay. Remember being a kid? You're just like, okay, this is what we do.
Yeah, you didn't really get much of a choice.
Yeah. This is what they gave me. Yeah. Now I'm going to do my thing. And now in enterprise, as more Chromebooks are in enterprise, hey, you want this job? This is your device. Why grumble? I like MacBooks or Windows. What doesn't matter. Like, this is your livelihood. You're going to use this device. That's what you're going to do. Well, the consumers aren't like that. Consumers get to walk in and go, I've seen a commercial about that MacBook thing. I don't want to pay that much money, but maybe I could get a Chromebook over here for way less money. But now which one should I get? And there's all these beat up models that are sitting on a shelf at Best Buy that, the kids have slapped on and, people have messed with. And so now I'm going to try to form my opinion about that. And I heard about these guys, Chrome Unbox, that they talk about it, and somebody told me about them, and they go and look and they see 600 videos and 8,000 posts, and they're like, I still don't really know. Like, that's too much information for me to do right now, and so I'm just going to buy something. I don't know.
Yep.
And so now Google, I think, is seeing that that predicament and saying, okay, we've got to do something to make this a little simpler. And it's not going to be putting plus and premium and whatever on stuff, because even those metrics were silly.
Well, and you're forcing things into category where this one might have all the pieces, but it's missing that one thing.
Right.
Well, okay. Well, then somebody
terrible.
has to decide. Well, is that plus or premium then? Like, it's subjective. Now there's a set of guidelines, a set of criteria that you have to meet.
Because my immediate thought goes to keyboard and trackpad. You have a device that's spec'd out well, the screen's great, all these things, but the trackpad is plastic and floppy, and there's a gap in it, and it double clicks.
Right.
I will not use it.
Drive me crazy.
It's not going to happen.
And so I think I'm hoping, like, this wasn't, obviously there's no code commits for this, but I feel like there's just no way that Google does this and doesn't include like user experience in that mix. And I felt like that before I saw the little thing for the Lenovo, and then I'm like, I could see this, like they're realizing that attention to detail, build quality, tolerances, and thinking about those things. Companies know these things. They choose to ignore them when they can, because it saves them money, R&D, and all this stuff. When it comes out of that first run, comes out of the factory, and they go, those are sharp edges, and this thing's kind of bendy. How much is it going to be to rerun this thing? What kind of bath are we taking to go and do this again and again and again to get it right? Or just ship it like it is, still the same specs. Yeah. Like, it'll be fine. Most people will be fine with it.
Throw some sandpaper in there with it. It's fine.
Yeah, right.
And so, hopefully this addresses both sides of that. Hopefully this says, if it's this new branding, if it's a Chromebook X, if it's a Project X Chromebook.
Project X. The Acer Project X.
If it's that, then at least that ensures, there's certain spec requirements being met, but it also means that the experience of using it just isn't bad.
Right.
Like someone, and again, that's subjective. Those things are subjective, but it's funny, like, there's not been a Chromebook, I don't think, ever that we've all messed with and come to different conclusions on, like, I love this one, I hate that thing.
Right.
Like, and even the ones that, like the CX-9, that didn't feel like it should have been that, because I remember I was like, that's weird. So I remember, I don't even think I said anything to you when you started using it. And then we ended up at the same,
docked, it was great. When I wasn't using it as a laptop, it was the best Chromebox I ever owned.
Very expensive Chromebox.
Yeah, I remember sitting at home with it on my lap one time and just think, this feels like an industrial slab.
Yeah.
And it's just,
like
it was
or something.
Physically and almost like emotionally like exhausting to use. It was really
there was nothing
weird.
that endeared you to the device itself at all.
It's cold and callous.
Like sharp edges, but not sharp. Like, again, the fit and finish of it was pretty good.
Oh yeah,
I think.
It had a real. If you've ever watched the Transformer movies, like the Transformers when they're on Earth and they've taken their forms, they're like, oh yeah, they're cool. Even once they're transformed, Optimus Prime, you can tell he's a semi. He's got a paint job. But if you saw them before they landed and they didn't take the forms of cars,
they were just like a basic robot.
Yeah, they were just like these weird sharp metal things. Same function,
right?
Not comfortable.
And that's and I'm hoping that that's part of it. I hope it's not just a spec list. And if it was, there would be no reason for them to do it, honestly. No. I mean, if it was just like, hey, we're just doing this, we are already
the
doing
specs
that.
are the specs. There's nothing that,
like having a requirement of specs that's basic. It needs to be something more than that. And the fact that they're including lower end processors tells me, like, if you're going to have a whole new thing, a whole new category of Chromebook, and you're going to include the small core Alder Lake N chips in that tells me that other things have to be important, not just processing speed and RAM and storage.
Because you can make a just rock star tablet for $300.
Right.
and it's not going to need a Core i5 processor.
No.
It won't have a Core i5 processor.
It's all boils down to use case and what people are trying to get done on that device.
And there need to be different versions of it, and it needs to meet all these different wants and desires for Chromebook users. But that seal of approval just needs to me, if they do this right, what it needs to say is, this has as much attention as a Pixelbook, a Pixelbook Go, or any other Chromebook that we've stamped with, like, hey, Google got involved in this. Right. That's what it needs to say. Well, and then I can just buy it. Like, I want the smaller one, and I don't care about this, and I want to save some money. So I'm going to buy that smaller one. Of course.
Assistant decided to listen then.
I was going to listen. It just won't do anything.
Yeah. So, I mean, you said stamped, like Google stamped this, but from a branding perspective, like having this on the device is like,
it's pretty bold.
Huge.
Yeah, it's a bold huge move. That's why it can't be Chromebook X, right?
No, it'll be something else.
All I can say
it'll be
like
Chromebook, like Chromebooks. I in my head, I don't know why, I'm envisioning like Chromebook with something right below it, like Chromebook, whatever.
Don't say plus. Please.
No, I don't think it'll be anything like that.
Ultra
Pro.
Ultra Plus Pro.
But other than like Pixelbook, like this is huge. Yeah. Like you were putting a different label on the device. Like Google is coming out and saying, like, when someone looks at this thing from manufacturers literally putting it on the device, like it's huge.
Yeah, the only thing I can put my head around is, what were they called? We talked about it the other day. Google Play Edition, is that what they were?
Right. Oh yeah, the Play Edition phones. Yep.
So they had Nexus phones were out, and that was kind of Google's ish thing. Maybe it is more akin to Nexus. I don't know, except for the branding.
What's a 5-letter word with an X in the middle? Pixel, Nexus. What's
no, that's right. They both do have X in the middle.
This is Project X.
Boxer.
Chromebook Boxer.
Chromebook Boxer.
You heard it here.
You heard it first.
Vixen.
Chromebook Vixen.
I do this all day. Let's go.
That's pretty good.
That's weird.
Yeah. So, but I don't remember. Oh yeah. So the
Play Edition.
Play Edition. They're kind of like this. So it was like, I don't know. The Google wasn't really stamping those with an approval.
Because there was a Samsung that was a Play Edition. Yeah. Was it the S3, 2?
Yeah, the S3, I think. Yeah, the S3 had a Play Edition. I'm trying to, there was one other big phone that was like, there was a Google Play Edition of that one. It was really cool.
What are they going to call it?
And that was different than Nexus. But I think that confused consumers.
Yeah.
But it was the same kind of thing. I don't know. Not really. I don't know of any other thing like this where the company behind the thing that it'd be like Microsoft figuring out some way to stamp other Windows devices as being like Surface.
Right.
That's what this would be like. That would never, ever, ever, ever happen because they compete with their manufacturers now with Surface. Google doesn't. They don't compete.
Elite.
They partner.
No.
Yeah. Elite.
Elite just makes you think you're getting like a MacBook.
Yeah. Elite's not.
I think because of the price range that a lot of these will fall in, they can't do.
Nope.
Right. I don't think they can do Pro either.
No, you can't do Ultra, anything like that.
Nope.
And I stick behind.
That's why we're doing X.
Like calling it Chromebook Pixel would be weird.
Yeah, because there's been a Chromebook Pixel.
So whatever, they'll come up with something, but to actually have that branding on the device, I mean, they went from having Chrome on there and it's Chromebook, and this is the only other time that it's going to change in the life of Chromebooks.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Since, for it to be a branding thing is a big deal. So yeah, it's going to be super interesting to see.
Do you think that they will rein in Chromebook names as part of this?
No.
Will they have?
You're talking about like model names?
Yeah. Will they have some control over?
They could. For these.
Yeah.
They could say if it's going to be this, you can't have dumb names.
Dragonfly Pro, is pretty solid. It's not the Chromebook Pro X4,
right? C640
98 HD CB.
Wow.
Dash
112. Because I mean that's part of this too. It's like branding of Chromebooks, naming structures is not the best, and we've complained about it for years.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I just don't know. Like that would be, taking it to the extreme, but
I don't. It'd be great because even the people in the mix of developing those devices know that it's bad.
And the thing is, like, I don't know, Google's going to have to figure out how to do this if this is the route it goes. And I can't conceive of a situation where that's not the case. I can't see where Google's like, yeah, it's a list of specs and you're in. That's not going to fix anything. So I think they're going to have to lean into the subjective end of this, saying, look, this one doesn't pass. You know, our panel or whatever, it's 5 guys or whatever, 10 people, 20. So who knows how many people would make this decision, but it didn't pass. Like, it didn't pass. Well, why didn't it pass? Well, Susan over there said, the trackpad feels like trash, and Jim said that blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know how that's going to be, but there's going to have to be some subjective stuff.
But a lot of that stuff is measurable, though. I mean, they've been doing the auto industry for decades. I mean, tolerances are tolerances for a reason. The travel has to be this much. It has to have this much resistance. They can measure that.
They can measure
click needs to be this sharp. How much depression is there on the track? But all those things.
So yeah, I guess they could get it pretty objective.
But I agree that there's still going to have to be, because I mean, we've seen devices that had the best of everything, and they still were just like, meh, trackpad wasn't the best or whatever.
And so, like, if that's the case, even if they get pretty objective with that, I just can't imagine them doing that and trying to kind of rein that stuff in for consumers, and then letting it be called the BRG Chromebook X360 Flip Fold Niner,
right?
Because the consumer's still going to come in and not be sure exactly what they're getting. And I think HP took a really cool step in that of just going, here's the spec, done.
That's the device.
Yep.
That's the one you get.
And I think there's room for a couple. Like, you want a little bit more memory, cool.
Yeah.
Or a small one and a big one or something.
Like phones kind of do. Like, it's usually basically just memory and storage. And that's it. Like, I could see that. But don't say, hey, you can get the 8128 version. That's going to be great. But now we're going to dumb down your screen. You're going to lose a fingerprint scanner. Now you don't have a stylus anymore. Like,
all that, yeah.
All that stuff should stay. And you have small things that are very understandable and simple for consumers to get, like, okay, cool. This is the device I wanted to buy. I do need more storage, though, because I do like to download, like, movies or whatever. Cool. Then you can just upgrade your storage.
What if they flip it? So Chromebook Pro, that doesn't work. Plus, we've had a Chromebook Pro with the Samsung. What if they did Pro Chromebook?
I think some of the entry models, like Pro drives me crazy already, but those aren't. They're not professional devices,
right?
I
don't think some of these are going to be that.
Yeah.
I don't know why in my head I keep hearing Next,
yeah.
Chromebook Next.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'm not saying that's going to be it.
So yeah,
I don't know.
So maybe they will have some kind of say or requirements for naming. But the other thing I just thought of, I really think if they're going to go through all of this and then put out their crazy names, it's got to be a holistic kind of package. The other thing I was sitting here thinking about, though, is will they include this if it's Chromebook Next? Will that be in the title? Like, will that be part of the model name? Will it be the Asus Chromebook Next, then the thing? Because how else are they going to know for the random consumer that's buying one on Best Buy?
Right. What if
other than maybe getting down into the specs, they would know that it's certified.
It would need to be in there.
So it's got to be something like short and sweet. It's got to be like Chromebook Next or Chromebook this. It can't be like the powered by.
It's going to end up being Chromebook X. Just because we can't figure anything else out.
Like, we might be.
Like, welcome to what we went through for like 6 hours in a marketing meeting. It's Chromebook X. Shut up and order some Jimmy John's.
Yeah, it could be.
Maybe.
Yeah. And if it is, it is. If they figure out a cool way to do it.
Yeah.
So, and I think about, like, okay, so Dragonfly, HP Dragonfly Pro Chromebook, right? Mm-hmm. So HP Dragonfly Pro Chromebook X.
Yeah.
Feels weird.
It does.
And so, like, I feel like a pending, but I'm with you. Like, I feel like the name, it has to be in the model, right?
Yeah.
How else would someone differentiate that it is or not? I don't know. It's a tricky thing that they're trying to do, but if they manage to pull it off, I think it's going to be change for the better for sure. And I'm hoping that the products that come out of, especially like the first wave, are good enough to keep all the manufacturers interested, are good enough to drive up sales a little bit, because all of those things need to happen for it to stick around, for us to be still talking about this next year.
Yeah. And Google needs to spend some serious marketing dollars.
Yeah, they need to invest so that people walk into the store understanding, and not just in commercials, like the way you brand it in the store.
Yes,
like
everything.
And we say store, we know we're all talking about Best Buy. Like that's the main place you walk in somewhere and buy a Chromebook. There's some at Walmart, and there's a handful at Target or something, but
Costco.
Really, Costco's got a pretty good selection. But if you want to walk into a store and kind of like browse Chromebooks, if you go to a big Best Buy, like they got a lot of them that you can go and see a lot of these models. So that's what we're really talking about. And so, okay, have that planned out too. Like, how are you going to put this on signage so somebody that didn't see that commercial that still walks in and sees Chromebook X, there needs to be a very clear and concise call to tell them what it is and why they should care about it.
It's almost like verified by Google. Like, it's something like
there
that.
You go.
It's like Google has had a hand in this device.
Yep.
They gotta invest in it. And we've seen it before, where they'll kind of do a little here and there. They'll make a cool thing for whatever.
A little commercial.
Yeah, a little commercial here and there.
Wow, look at this.
Yeah, we're like, oh, this is exciting. And then it's gone. So we'll see. I mean, it's obviously this has all happened this week, and we don't have all the details at all.
Hopefully we'll know more soon.
Yeah, we're hoping now that it's out, maybe we'll get some info, even if it's under embargo, from maybe some contacts who might be able to share a little more. If you all just had to throw out some timing, like, what do you think?
What 9 to 5 said by the end of the year. That's the one time they said our source tells us, and that's where I was like, their source probably kind of guided them on some of these other things too. But it said by the end of the year. That's what they said. So if you're going to do it, you need to do it by Q4.
But what about like at the fall event? If there's any way that they could even just tease, and also regarding Chromebooks, like,
because I mean, Steam,
here's a new thing
should
that
be
we're
ready.
It's not made by Google, so I can't get one.
But I mean, if they did something in the fall, even separate from that, where it was whatever this is, and hey, Steam is now
that's true,
ready to go.
Do a Chromebook event
and whatever else that might become.
I don't remember if it was in that article or not, but I think that could be part of this too. Like, but then you got older like in Chromebooks. I don't know that Steam is part of Chromebook X. I just don't know that it can be. If they're going to allow mid-range processors, like that's going to be a terrible experience. Well, and
it's like the gaming devices are serving a specific need to, I think Chromebook X is for general consumer. This, like you were saying, this kind of the meat of the person, the meat of the market, the person that's just walking into a Best Buy to buy a device. So we'll hopefully know more soon. Obviously,
eventually.
We'll be reporting on this on chromeunboxed.com, and I even thought if we get maybe a little bit more info. I mean, doing a YouTube video now would feel. I don't know that there's enough yet to make a video, but maybe
you could do a what is Chromebook X video. I think you could pontificate
maybe an explainer style.
Like here's what we know of it right now. But
probably just a 7 or 8 minute summation of this entire podcast would make a great video.
Cut this,
basically. Honestly,
cut down this hour and 20 minutes.
A little bit of theorizing. And,
that could be cool. But stay tuned. Obviously, as we find out more, we'll let you guys know.
For sure. We're on the lookout.
We are on the lookout. That is for sure. But thanks so much for tuning in and listening and watching. If you are watching over on YouTube, make sure to give us a thumbs up. Go down there and click subscribe and click the notification bell so that when we put out future episodes, you get a little notification on your phone so you don't miss it. You don't want to miss this.
No. Who would want to miss this?
You want to be that one guy in your friend group that missed this week's episode of the Chromecast?
What are you going to talk about at work on Monday?
Right.
Seriously.
Yeah.
How will they know what color I lit the plant? It's what is that?
It's purple-ish.
Purple pink?
Purple.
I don't know.
It's slow.
That's mystery colors.
I literally set the colors on these lights on the numbers. I know based on my color.
What color is your studio? 274.
What color is that? I don't know.
Whatever that is.
I like the way it looks though.
Anywho. All right, we'll catch you all in the next one. See ya.